Mic check. 1 2 1 2. Mic check. If y'all can hear me on YouTube, give me a one, please. Mic check. If you're joining on TikTok, then welcome to the live. Peace, anointed hands. Thank you. We're about to get rolling. We're just trying to give a minute here to allow folks to get the notification. If you are watching on TikTok, if you want to see all of the visual aids that I'll be showing, you can come over to YouTube to my channel, 720 Astrology on YouTube. But peace, I am she. Hope everything is going well with everybody here on Tuesday. We're gonna try our best to break this thing down like we do. Trying to give it just a second here before we get into this. Thank you for hitting the like button as you're coming in. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for double tapping over here on TikTok. If you do, TikTok people be coming in and out. They TikTok it's like people going in and out of the screen door when you're little and you're like, quit letting my air out. Well, we ain't have no air conditioning, but it was quit letting all that hot air in here. So I am she said she went and saw it Sunday. Okay, let me just jump right to it. Full disclosure. I ain't seen the movie. So nobody has to worry about me any spoiler alerts or anything of that of me. I'm gonna do this breakdown from not even seeing the movie because what I'm gonna talk about has nothing to do with the actual knowing all the different parts of the movie. I'm gonna show y'all something that is displayed in just the title and uh the release date, the day that it debuted. That's the real sauce, at least from my perspective. So I'm gonna get going here and peace, pink pedal, and I'm trying to wait on a couple more folks to get in. Let's see. Let's see if we can at least get our first 10 people in here on YouTube. But if not, oh, we got 7. We might just have to go on and we might have to go ahead and just get it to cranking. Um, so we're looking at the movie centers, the hidden messages, and you may be thinking that on TikTok, it's people been going in on breaking down this movie and great stuff. I mean, so none of this is to suggest to any that what I have to say trumps what other people, but I will say this. What I am going to present, I have not heard anything remotely close. So and so all I'm just going to do is share my perspective. And there we go, straight Panther in the house. Good, got me one mod to how you doing, brother? Just so we can police the streets because we may have some vampires try to trickle in as we go. So all right, let's get rolling. So customary. This is one today. We definitely got to go to the whiteboard today. No playing around. We got to go to the whiteboard on this because that's why if you're on TikTok and you want to see the full display or layout, come over to YouTube. Come over to 720 Astrology on YouTube, and you can get the real sauce. Or you can just stay on here and watch, and you can go back over to YouTube at your leisure and subscribe to the channel and watch the the real layout. One thing I say unique about me about my social media presence is I don't put the same stuff on all platforms. So a lot of stuff that I've put on, sometimes I will, but a lot of things you see on TikTok is not on YouTube. And of course, a lot of things on YouTube you won't see on TikTok. Um, I do a lot of long form content on YouTube where I get on Zoom and I'm writing on the whiteboard, old school, like we used to do when we were coming up. Cause it's just something about that writing, that visual connection. It really does help things congeal in the mind. So let's do this. What day does the movie Sinners debut? What's the date? Anybody know? Or paying attention? What was the date of his debut? And hopefully I didn't mess up, but I'm pretty sure I saw this that this was the I saw a trailer and I'm pretty sure I saw this date. I'm gonna let somebody in the chat. Anybody on TikTok? When was what was the date of the debut of the movie? Anybody on YouTube? Put it in the chat. What was the debut? Anybody by your phone? Okay, y'all taking too long. We're gonna write it out. What I got was 4/18. That's the day of the debut or the date. 4/18. Now, the title of the movie is Sinners. Now, what's crazy is before the movie came out, if y'all remember, when I did the breakdown on Easter, did I not mention the Hebrew word for sin? If you all remember. Remember I was mispronouncing it. And the word is katat, right? Katat. And it just so happens that this movie, Sinners, debuts 2 days before Easter. Now, the celebration of Easter is about, from a religious standpoint, it is saying that Christ, it is celebrating the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ, right? And what is this whole thing about? It's about he died for the world's sins, right? All right. So here's where I'm going to begin this conversation. If you understand what the word sin really means, you will better understand what Christ means, and you'll understand life, reality, everything if you start with the word sin and you fully flesh it out. All right. Now, going back to the conversation I did on Easter, I broke down the word sin once again on TikTok. If you want to see this, thank y'all for liking the live. If you want to see this, what I'm actually writing, then you can come over to my YouTube, 720 Astrology. So the word for sin in Hebrew, and a lot of what we're going to do is reference Hebrew. All right. The word for sin is, it starts with a ket, it has a semet, aleph, and a ta. And that word is katat. Now, if you look at this word, the ta, each Hebrew letter has a numeric value, which represents a resonance, a frequency that it is vibrating at. Keep that word in mind. Frequency and vibration. It's key. Peace, poetic heart. Okay. The Aleph equals 1. The Semet equals 60. The no 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 no. Hold on. No, it does not. And that's not a Semet. That's a pardon me. Oh shit, I didn't start my camera. Back that up. That's a mistake. That's not a submit. That's a God, what's this letter? Uh uh um a tet. That's what it is. A tet. So it has a value of 9. Pardon me. And the first letter is a kit, which has a value of 8. You add those up, they equal 418. So here we go. If you ain't patient and you just want to get right to one of the major points I'm gonna bring up, here you go right here. The movie debuted on 418. And this is why everybody should study a little bit of Kabbalah, a little bit of gematria, just a little bit of Hebrew. Everybody should know those 22 Hebrew letters and their values and explore kind of if you put these, what these words mean when you put words together with these letters. The movie debuts on 418 and the title is Sinners. It just so happens that the word for sin in Hebrew adds up to a value of 418. Now, there are other words for sin in Hebrew, but one of the particular words that for that word, katat, has a value of 418. So I'm going to ask you, do you all think this is by happenstance? Do you think it's just, as they say, coincidental? The word for sin equals 418. The movie's released on 418 and it's called Sinners. Ding, 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 ding. First clue. First clue. So now once you see that, your mind got to go, shoo. Now you got to go off and go on a tangent. You got to start going down the rabbit hole. Because 2 days later, we would celebrate Easter, right? Now, Easter is again, Christ is supposedly dying for the sins of the world. Well, when did the sin begin? What's the ontology of it? Well, it begins with Adam and Eve. According to the story, it begins with them eating the apple that came from the tree of knowledge. Listen to this shit. Listen to this. Now, I want you to lean up close to the camera, whatever interface you watching through. Listen to this. And astronomically, when you look at the precession of the equinoxes, which determines what age we are in, we are officially in the age of Aquarius right now. But the equinoxes move backwards just like the nodal axis does. You know, you go from Aries to Pisces to Aquarius, it goes backwards. Opposite of the natural zodiacal motion. Okay? So, let me explain. What's the precession of the equinoxes? This is based on the idea that the earth has a wobble to it. And there's something called the circumpolar hub, which is a mathematic point high in the heavens. And when you take the central axis or the pole from the earth, based on the wobble, every 2160 years, it wobbles into another sign. All right. According to Malik Jabbar, everybody can go look up Malik Jabbar. I got a whole bunch of his books. One of his books is Oh man, the astrological origins of the Christ myth. He's got that's just one of them. He's got I think that book has got a part one, two, three, maybe four. He's got a book behind the Gnostic veil. Look up Malik Jabbar. He's like in his 80s now. But he said in one of his videos that based on the software, and he shows it, the software where he moves the clock back using like an astronomical clock. And he says that the time that would be associated with Adam and Eve would be Gemini. And he suggests that Adam and Eve are the twins. That's why their story emerges because they are the twins. They represent when the processional equinox was in the sign of Gemini. Now think about this. The Bible talks about the people. Moses goes up on the mountain. He gets the message from God. He comes down. He's angry because the people are got a golden calf. That's Taurus. That's the age of Taurus. And he breaks it, which represents moving into the age of Aries. Then Jesus comes, which represents the age of Pisces. With this last so called Pope transitioning, this is further confirmation of we are officially in the age of Aquarius, right? So if you move back to Adam and Eve representing Gemini, one thing I did notice about the movie, doesn't Michael B. Jordan play a twin in the movie? Gemini. Gemini. And it is Adam and Eve where we get the so called beginning of original sin because they ate from the tree of knowledge. And who were they influenced by? They were influenced by the serpent. And the Hebrew word for serpent, let me get here. Once again, if you're coming in on TikTok, if you want to see all this stuff live and what I'm actually writing, you can go over to my YouTube 720 Astrology, subscribe and chime in. Peace, that crazy. Uh, so look, here we go. Nakash is the Hebrew word for serpent. Nakash. Now, when you spell that word out in Hebrew, it is a nun. Nakash, Nakash. That would be a ket. And the last letter would be a shin. Nakash. Nun is 50. Ket is 8. Shin is the last letter is 300. So that adds up to 358. All right. Now on my YouTube side, y'all know we've talked about this before, but this is kind of review. Now, this entity, Nakash, is said to be the bad guy. He's the one, the reason that all this original sin exists in the first place, because he manipulated them and tricked them. And the person whom is celebrated at Easter is supposed to be the Redeemer, called Jesus or called Christ. But what's another word for this same character? Mashiach, the Messiah. In Hebrew, the Mashiach. When you take this word, Mashiach, in Hebrew, and you flesh it out, we get a meme, we get a shin, we get a yud, and a kit. Ain't it funny we keep getting this kit? Kit, kit, kit. Keep that in mind. It keeps showing up. The letter kit. Well, Mashiach, the meme is 40, the shin is 300, the yud is 10, and the ket is 8. Again, that adds up to 358. Hold on. Uh-oh, we got a problem. We got a problem. We got a problem here because the bad guy in the story, based on the spelling of the name, has the same vibration as the so-called savior. Very interesting. Nakesh 358, Mashiach 358. Now, it is said that because the serpent or Nakesh did this trickery, it was made to lie down on its belly and quote, cursed above all cattle and every beast of the field. Listen to the language. Listen to the language. This serpent was cursed above all cattle and every beast of the field. It was made to lie down on its belly. If it has the same frequency as Mashiach, then arguably this is also the Messiah emerges and it lies down on its belly, as in it is asleep, or it is lying dormant, or it is incapacitated. Now I'm jumping around here and I'm getting ahead of myself, but I got to remember that where I got to come back. I got to come back and explain to you the beasts of the field. But isn't there something called a kundalini snake or serpent that is said to lie coiled up at the root chakra or the base of our stomach or basically down in our loins? And our job is to raise this serpent up. And the raising of this serpent is called enlightenment or consciousness. Very interesting. But going back, that's just a sidebar. But going back though, we're moving on. Everybody still with me? Y'all, am I making sense? Okay. So it said that this serpent, which is Nakash, is cursed above all cattle and every beast of the field. Listen to the word cattle is a what? It's an animal. And then it says again, beast. So we're going to look at the word beast. And then it says of the field. Those two words, beast and field, play pay close attention to those. Because I kept talking about how the letter ket keeps showing up. Okay. Well, in Hebrew, every letter has varying symbolism or a multitude of symbols that it contains within itself. Every letter in Hebrew is an entire universe. It's a computer. Hebrew is computerized archetypal language because it gives you it's a multiverse. It's a universe within a universe within a universe within each letter. So the letter ket, let me give you some of the symbolic meanings of ket. It means offense. The letter ket means beast, literally beasts of the field. Mm, mm, mm. And the letter ket also means life. I see we're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere. What is the zodiac? What does the word zodiac mean? I want one of y'all let me know in the comments. What does the word zodiac mean? Give me Not philosophical, just give me a straight up answer. Like the word, literally, what is zodiac or zodiacal? What does it mean? Somebody tell me. What does zodiacal mean? Zoo, okay, okay. So keep going with zoo. There we go. There we go. I am she. Isn't it field of animals? It is literally the circle of animals. That's what zodiacal means, or zodiacal. It means circle of animals. Now, if we have a fence, what does a fence do? It encircles the perimeter. And ket also means beasts of the field, but it also means life. So the zodiac is a circle of animals. But what is the word? If we take the etymology of the word spirit, do you know what that is? What does the word spirit come from? From this right here, animus. Animus, Greek. And what is this the same as? Animal. So the zodiac is the circle of animals, i.e., the circle of spirit, the circle of life. So this passage that said, "You're accursed above all cattle and every beast of the field." This is talking about incarnation into a wheel or a zodiacal wheel, into a chart. When you incarnate into this world, you acquire a birth chart. That becomes your wheel of fortune, if you will. It is your animal, your circle of animals. So the letter ket within itself contains that vast correlation to all of these concepts I just talked about. Now, here, what else is significant about the letter ket? Every letter in Hebrew, when you spell it out, it consists of other letters to make up that letter. So ket is actually comprised of it. Whenever you spell out a letter, it starts with itself. So spelling out the letter ket would start with a ket, a yud, and a ta. Do you know what that adds up to? 418. The title of the movie is Sinners. The Hebrew word or a Hebrew word for sin is katat, which has a value of 418. The movie was released on 418. The letter ket spells out to 418. Now, the movie is a vampire movie, right? And vampires are trying to get where? Inside the circle. Where do vampires come from? Well, they emerge whenever life emerges, they are there. Whenever a circle forms, so do vampires. Wherever there is life, they are there looking for food. Now, and I'm about to explain where I'm getting to. To live in sin is at the from a metaphysical standpoint is to exist primarily through your root chakra. The root chakra is the equivalent of the beasts. It's wild, unbridled energy. It's untamed because the root chakra says it's concerned with food, fighting, fornication, fun, and fantasy. We could attribute those five words to the root chakra because it wants, it needs constant stimulation. It's a dopamine junkie. So to live in sin is to live in the lowest basic expression of an animal. That is to be driven by urges. Now, it is said that man once existed at a frequency that could not be contained within a human body. So that for man to exist in the form we exist in right now is already representative of a fallen state. Because for us to see each other, to be differentiated from one from another, means that the vibratory rate has to be moving slow enough to slow down to where we can actually see ourselves as being solid entities or vessels. So I was at the gym this morning and I was on the step mill and I was watching somebody jogging on the treadmill in front of me. And I looked at the treadmill next to the person and it was not operating. And it was one of these newer treadmills where that got, you can see the each little belt in each tread in the belt. It's like, it looks like almost like radials on tire. So it's like like I don't know, dozens of these things going around this belt. But when somebody's running at a fast enough speed, you can't see the difference between each belt. It looks like one solid piece of material. That's because the speed is so high that it's a blur. You can't differentiate one from the other. Would be the equivalent of the treadmill that was not running. And because it was so slow, you could differentiate and you can see each solid piece of the belt, if I'm making sense. When the vibratory rate is higher, then we did not exist in these shells like this. The moment that the human was able to exist in a shell like this, emerged vampires. And the vampire on the mundane level would be parasites, would be fungi, would be viruses, would be pathogens. I'm getting somewhere with all this. So I'm gonna come back to that, but let me finish out this what Christ would represent because we have defined what sin is. Sin is the emergence of a will, right? It is, but it's a will that is operating in what we call life. So it also means whenever there is life as we know it, we're talking about a slower vibratory rate. So Christ then resurrecting from the grave, which would represent the snake lying dormant on its belly, is the snake standing back up. One's own awakening, one's consciousness, one's attainment of wisdom. Now, for this resurrection to happen, astrologically, Christ would coincide. Peace, Faye. Peace, Pandora. Astrologically, for Christ coincides with Leo. Physiologically, astrophysiologically, Christ, i.e., Leo, represents the heart. In on the Kabbalistic tree of life, The sixth sphere of Tiferet coincides with the sun, which is Leo, Christ, the heart. And everything pours into Tiferet. All paths, the supernals, they pour into Tiferet. And all the other spheres, they all connect through Tiferet. And Tiferet then would also represent the heart. The opening of the heart is the resurrection of Christ when we are able to open our hearts, which means honesty, true self love, which means true self knowledge, which represents a purging because the heart functions through a constant cleansing process. The blood constantly comes and is cleansed, comes back, clean, so there's this constant movement. There's a constant state of becoming. That's the heart. That's the resurrection. And through that resurrection, it raises the vibratory rate. When we go and exercise, we're stimulating the heart, helping it to function better, to raise our physical vibratory rate, and to enhance our vitality. The sun, which is connected to Leo, where everybody's sun in their chart coincides to your vitality. Whenever we feed the heart, we are helping to sustain life force on all levels. Now, I'm making a transition here because I have connected the letter Ket, which when we spell it out has a value of 418, which is the same value as the word sin, which is the same number as the day of the debut of this movie, Sinners, 418. Just to backtrack. So it ain't like I'm all over the place. This shit is all on point, all lined up. So if we can make the connection from the letter Ket as fence, beasts of the field, life, connecting it to Zodiac or the zodiac, then we should be able to easily use these good minds we got to see that this is also talking about the cells in your body. And this the real shit. All the stuff I've been saying is just lead up. This is the real shit right here now. Okay? Let me get a sip of water. This is where the actual knowledge start coming out. Or the real breakdown. The real sauce. The cell. What is a cell? Etymologically, it means a covering, a hollow, enclosed place. So a cell then is, and cell also coincides to the word color. They all come from the same root. A color is a particular encasement of a certain frequency of energy. And that's what a cell is. It is an encasement of light or of life force. Each cell is its own enclosement or encasement of life force, i.e., spirit. Now, let me say this. A lot of people look at this movie and see it as talking about how certain cultures have been like vampire. You own it, Stray Panther. You already know where I'm going. Cell membrane. You already know where I'm going. So I've heard people talk about how, the people who are trying to get in, they represent cultural appropriation, vampiric. And we know the people, there's a particular group that is always present wherever talent is. They are the they are the owners of sports teams. They are the managers or the agents. They are the lawyers. They are they are the people who control money, the same people who own record labels, the people who run the movie industry. We so that was an easy one. Everybody up on that now. And you so they were okay with because it doesn't matter anymore, right? They'll let you they'll put it out there so you don't get tricked to think that that was the main message. That was what they call a blind. That was a blind. It was too easy to catch that one. There's something deeper that um I am suggesting with all this. I'm theorizing. There's something deeper. And you got to know the rules of being the lords of materialism. That's what we're dealing with. The lords of materialism are given carte blanche, so to speak. That's the trade-off for the fact that they can't go beyond the material realms. They can't go beyond it. So they're given the power to run things in this realm. But what they have to do is tell you what they're doing. They have to tell you that's part of the agreement, but they don't have to come right out and tell you. And this movie is pointing to something more than just about, you know, vampires, cultural appropriation, and it's bigger than that. A cell is an enclosure of life force. A vampire would be the equivalent of a parasite. Definition of a parasite: an organism that lives within or upon another organism at the expense of that organism. Ain't that the same thing as a vampire? So you got to stretch your mind. So we're doing today, stretch your mind to get the real game. So I saw clips of the vampires first discovering the joint, the little juke joint, and they trying to get in. With music, they played music. What is music? A vibration. And what were they attracted to? Life force going on within the juke joint. A vibration, music. Wherever there is life, there will be parasites. But there was some type of weakness. There was some slowing down of the vibratory rate too, to where they felt like there was a possibility to enter the juke joint. The juke joint is the cell. You understand me? It's the cell. And there are all types of malefic entities in the blood that are looking to enter your cells. But they cannot come in unless they are invited in. So Stray Panther already said cell membrane. Thank you, Pandora. Yes, hit the like button. Come on, hit this. I'm not trying to beat my chain here, but this ain't on this ain't on YouTube nowhere. This ain't on TikTok nowhere, you know? Um, the cell membrane. Get Bruce Lipton's book, Biology of Belief. He says the cell membrane is more important, arguably equally or more important than the nucleus. The cell membrane is the actual brains of the cell. The cell membrane is the gatekeeper, right? Keeping the vampires out, making sure they don't come in. The cell membrane is the critic. It criticizes, it critiques what has come to the door to determine if it should be allowed to enter. And for something to enter, it has to have a certain key. And a key is called what? An enzyme. But vampires are crafty. They know how to go and make keys, which is why cellular intelligence is so important. Now listen to this. The protected area of the cell is called the cytoplasm. That's where all of the 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 delicate parts are. It houses all of the precious parts of the cell, including what? The mitochondria, which is the real master storehouse of the cell. It's the mitochondria. This is where the God force is hidden. This is what the vampire wants. All of the control of the music and all of these industries and sports, it's not for money. It is trying to get to the essence. It is to control God force. That's what the real war is. It wants access to the Aleph. The Aleph represents divine force hiding itself within man. And the Aleph would coincide with the mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of the cell. That might be mita. Is it mita or mito? Whatever. The vampire, i.e., parasites, viruses, fungi, etc., are always trying to get in, but they can't enter unless they're invited. Before I go further, let me make sure I ain't missed nothing in my notes because I always go back and see something else and I'm sure there's things I've uh either way. So here we are at a time where humanity has more access to information and people are starting to question things more and starting to, I say this reluctantly, wake up, or I say this carefully and wake up because that gets overused. But you got to at least be awake to be in the game. So we're not going to belittle it. But I think we put too much emphasis on being woke and awake. You know, you can wake up and play video games all day, right? So, but you do have to first wake up to get into the game. But then what are you going to do once you're awake? At a time like this, it's important to hinder the transition from being awake to being functional. You know, you watch all the videos, you know all this teacher, that teacher, and you got a book or two and you playing around with a candle, but it ain't really turned into power. It's kind of entertainment, but it's at least a spark. That spark does create some fear because some entities may see that as starting to lose control of the realm that they felt they had control of. And so you need something to get in to derail. And this can be at several levels. How certain things are presented on the internet, vampirism. Get into your mind, shift the consciousness, put certain concepts out, pay certain people to push certain agendas, and then that's vampirism. But it can literally happen at a physiological level as well. And so I'm going to go on with my notes. Maybe this movie, if interpreted correctly, was a warning. Maybe a new vampire is coming or is already afoot. And maybe you should be looking at how to strengthen and protect your cell membranes, as well as support your mitochondrial health. I'm going to read this again because I can't just say, you know, peace, MC, peace, Andrea. I can't just come right out and say what I'm saying. I'm gonna say it. Well, I'm gonna say it like I'm saying it. Maybe the movie was a warning. Maybe a new vampire is coming or is already afoot. And maybe you should be looking into how to strengthen and protect your cell membranes as well as support the mitochondrial health. So I'm gonna tell you this. I had this thing happen twice with me. Sister tells me in our Discord, she says, I had a dream. And she said, in the dream, I was walking with them and we were on some path. And I told them, hey, did y'all get your vitamin C in? I was like, that's interesting. So my mind is, okay, I need to look in like, let me explore the different channels or why would that be coming up in a dream? Then I had a client tell me that during a Reiki session that it came up in her memory a trip she had taken. It was somewhere in Europe, and she remembers she got sick, had some type of stomach issue, and that some woman was giving her lemons to suck on to help calm her stomach. What is found in lemons? Vitamin C. That's all I needed. That's two hits. Sister says she had a dream about it. Then this other lady comes in and talks about in a Reiki session, came through about lemons, vitamin C. Now, here's what's interesting about vitamin C. We could look at it partly as the defender of the cell membrane. Why? Because vitamin C goes and hunts for scavengers in the blood. And what did one of them clips say? Um, ooh, poise and polish. Oh, you took it somewhere. Yeah, okay, you thinking. Um, that first scene, oh, we're hungry as wolves. Scavengers. Scavengers. So vitamin C is running defense outside of the cell membrane to hunt for these scavengers, i.e., pathogens. Vitamin E actually supports the cell membrane structure. Cell membranes, fat soluble. Vitamin E is one of the ADEX, fat soluble vitamin. Vitamin C is water soluble. So it's going to be more in the blood, right? So check this out. Here's something else I want you to think about. Currently in the astrological weather, we are dealing with Mars opposite Pluto. And then we had the new moon where we had the basically the Grand Cross if you include Lilith and Scorpio. So, and we're coming off of Mars, which was debilitated in Cancer. So, stress, inflammation. We're dealing with Uranus that is now conjunct algal, the fixed star. Stress. They keep putting out in the news. Um, how shelves are not being replenished, and Poison Polish talked about the ports being empty, and stress. So guess what? Our adrenals respond to stress. But if we have chronic, if we have ongoing stress, then it can cause inflammation. inflammation attracts vampires. Another thing is that half of the vitamin C we take in goes to our adrenals. Half of the vitamin C goes to support adrenal function. So if you are more stressed out, what are you going to be more deficient in? Vitamin C, which leaves us more susceptible to the vampires. We're hungry as wolves. Here's something else, though. The molecular structure of vitamin C is similar to that of glucose. So when you take in equal or more sugar as vitamin C, your cell membrane has to make a choice. It can't allow both to pass. It's either going to be the glucose or it's going to be the vitamin C. If you have an overabundance of glucose, vitamin C can't come in. And what are parasites attracted to? Sugar, baby. Sugar. And what do you crave more when you're stressed out? Sugar. Some diabolical shit. This is what we mean by quiet war. Like I said, the vampire is crafty. It learns how to make a key to get in. So it can ride in through the molecular structure of the glucose, which has a key to get into the cell. Because that mitochondria is like, I can do something with that sugar. And if it's the wrong type of sugar or too much, and the vampire latches onto it, it gets in. I've got access. So take this for as you will, for what you will. Uh, you know, Poison Policy says JFK enters the chat to do away with the use of petroleums. He's a trickster, but that is very interesting. Um, so yeah, this is my humble assessment of the of this movie. And like I said, I haven't seen it, but from my studies, you know, this is I think this is the actual some of the hidden messages because gotta tell you what we're doing. And you gotta look and this is I'm not gonna go all down the rabbit hole on this, but you gotta think this comes 2 days before the so-called pontiff comes out and blesses everyone on Easter and then passes the next day this is the area of CGI and all types. So for what we know, he could have been gone, but they needed ritual wise him to be able to and at the time they announced his death, his rising sign was ascending. He was a Cancer rising. He passed at 7:35. They didn't announce it to 2 hours later when in Vatican City, the sign of Cancer was rising, which is him ascending. All right. Then before the movie comes out, they send the women up in the rocket. And the rocket literally is shaped like a phallus. And then the head breaks off and they appear to have gone up. But it don't matter because the apparent is what the ritual is about, how it appears. It don't have to be that it was actually, don't get caught in that. That don't matter. It's about what the ritual does to seed into the consciousness. So that could have represented seeding the clouds, possibly with something nefarious. All right, Paul said, yeah, a week before the moon. That's right. That's right. Um, um, so yeah, that's all I got. I just want to come in and break that down. That's so govern yourselves accordingly based on what you may have gotten from what I said. Govern yourselves accordingly. Make sure you're doing things to invigorate your blood. Make sure you're doing things to support yourself at all levels. And I want to say this too, aside from all this other, these are very tense times and people are going through, right? And I'm going to come back and do a video on this about what happened when Pluto was in my first house. That was the first time in my life I ever technically really felt what it was to be depressed, you know? And we didn't use terms like that back in, 1990, in the 90s. I mean, it was out there, but it wasn't common as it is now. Like everybody's talking about their mental health. Um, and so with all of the current stress there is, you got people, especially people who have fixed signs in their angular houses. And your angular houses are 1, 4, 7, and 10. And if you're using the quadrant system, meaning it's not a equal house system, then you may not have all of those angular houses in fixed, but whichever ones are, and if you got placements in the first 10 degrees, they're catching it right now because their life is being torn to shreds. So wherever you can let go right now, let go of that shit. Let go. Let go. You know, don't stress over things that you can't control and be aware of what you cannot control right now and let that shit go. Okay, my live going to end over here on um let it go as best you can. And another thing is know when it's time to destroy the old version of yourself so that a new one can live. And listen to me. This is coming from somebody who I am the most determined person in the Western Hemisphere. But determination is great. And sometimes it can be detrimental. Even me doing this live the way I did, I wanted to have my nice camera for TikTok because I got two cameras. I want to have this is how I was gonna do this. I was gonna record all this. I was gonna have one camera turned sideways so it'd be for the framing for TikTok, one horizontal, and I was gonna shoot both of them. I was gonna be on the board, and I needed me another tripod. I ordered one. It was cheap. I had to go and return it back to Amazon. I was like, shit, man. Just little simple things like this. So I just like, okay, I'm gonna use my phone to do TikTok and I'm gonna do the other one. I'm just gonna do it live. But do you know I had to sit and think to come up with this basic adjustment because I'm so regimented in how I like when I get my mind on something a certain way, it's got to be that way. You understand me? That's because that's my natural predisposition. I'm stubborn. Not only am I'm Aquarius sun, which is a fixed sign, I have Saturn in a fixed sign. I got Uranus in the fixed sign. I got Jupiter in the fixed sign. I am super stubborn. I want to do the shit the way I want to do it. Right now, that shit can fuck you up. Especially if you got fixed signs on your angles right now. You're going to have to, you're going to have to ask, where do I need to change? And I'm telling y'all from my heart, that's hard to do sometimes when you feel like you know the right way to do shit. But don't create more inflammation in you and more turmoil because you want to hold on to this is how I do things, or this is I'm gonna be me and I'm gonna no fuck that shit. If that shit ain't working, you better tear that shit up and destroy it. And you have to trust that what you can become, you have to be humble enough to allow yourself to become what you is on the other side. And you got to be honest with yourself. Pluto is bringing real shadow work, real shit. Now, no bullshit on the internet, the real shit. I personally, although I don't have fixed signs on the angles, guess what? I'm having to deal with the karma of the way I've done certain things in my past, i.e., money. Having to deal with that. But you got to see it through. And it's important that we take this approach because it is not only helping us grow, it's helping us protect ourselves. Because the vampiric energy is also utilized to find inconsistencies or insecurities in your thought process. And that also opens the door to it getting inside of you, in your essence, in your soul. Our thoughts. If you're stuck in a realm of victimization, the vampire can get in. If you're stuck in a realm of anger, the vampire can get in. If you're stuck in helplessness, a vampire can get in. You open the door. So if you're suffering, if you feel you're suffering, just ask, hey, what do I need to learn? Especially for fixed sign people, because what's the next modality after fixed? It's mutable. And so I'm moving from the season that I'm in, that I know this is my season, to the season's changing. So if you have fixed energy where you catching hell, then you need to ask the question of where do I need to change? What do I need to learn? And this is a basic astrological lesson. If you got a fixed cross in mutable signs, then it's pushing you to say, where do I need to learn initiative? I spend my time all into this and that, and I don't have no direction. If I have a fixed cross in cardinal, I need to learn where I need to sit with some shit. I start a million things and don't ever sit with it and allow it to season and mature. Because crosses in general are saying, look, motherfucker, you got to do something. You're getting drawn and quartered. So continuing to double down on this is how I do things, man, that shit ain't, man. I'm telling you from experience. I could have been so much further along if I just would have understood when a season was fucking over. Let that motherfucker die. It's dead. Let it die so that you can live again. But sometimes our minds be stuck in the previous season because our egos get attached to the season, to the identity of the season. And that again will allow vampires to get in. Y'all over here going in the chat. Um, and like I say, y'all, I'm telling y'all, I don't never try to present myself as the fucking guru. It's too much of that shit. It makes me sick. It makes me, it's all over the internet. I don't like I'll tell you some shit straight up. Don't get me wrong. And it might hurt your feelings, but it ain't coming from me talking down to you. I'm telling you from the perspective of, look, motherfucker, I'm real too. I'm going through shit now. People think just cause I now all on the internet crying, it don't mean everybody going through shit. So I am never coming from the standpoint of talking down. I'm not talking at you, I'm talking to your ass. You understand? Because we all got our struggles and we need to end this shit of trying to present ourselves as fucking gurus. Because I'm seeing gurus go down, they getting the 10 count. Put all these personas on and trying to look like giving themselves nicknames and all this shit. That shit eventually fades away and the real shit gonna come through. So I would rather just be real with you up front. Tell you, I got shit I'm working through and this, yeah, I got my own, you know what I'm saying? But I'm thankful for the remedies I got. I'm thankful for realization. And realization depends on pain. You need pain to show you where you need to change. Because if we did not have pain, we would keep doing the same shit on and on and on. We need the pain to get our attention. Otherwise, we get caught in a fantasy world. And fantasy's good to a certain degree. We need to imagine, but sometimes you need to be brought back. It's finding the balance. And pain helps you recalculate, reconfigure things, to refocus. You got, and look, you got to think outside the box. You must think outside. If I can tell you anything as an Aquarian, you got to think outside the box. And there is nothing more important in this journey than healing. Know that shit. And can't nobody do it for you. You must do it. You can't run from no problems. Shit don't work. At some point, it catches up. And the only option is to go into the wound, acknowledge it, and heal it. And if you can start the process of doing that, all this other shit, fuck it. Because that, you will have done the great work. And for many of us in Generation X, unknown, that's our job because our parents were not given the tools. And we can sit here and malign them, but they ain't, it's us. We're the transition generation. It's on us to figure out how to heal because we are the transit station to the next. Because this is, we're the ones where all the, and I don't like using these terms, but I'm gonna use it, star seeds and rainbow children and blue falcons. Okay, let's just say, let's take the shit at face value. All right. Take it for what it is and say and it is. These are special souls. The reason I don't like using it because sometimes we put our children too much on pedestals. They still need their ass whooped, respectfully, you know. So we can create egomaniacs, but they still are special. If souls are coming back into this world during the age of Aquarius, then they're coming back for a reason. But we're the transition point that's supposed to help them become what they're supposed to be. And how do we do it? We got to heal our wounds. We have to reinstate in families what it means to communicate. That's us. We got to recreate culture. And you're going to have to create your own culture. It's cool to try to look back and figure out, but fuck it. Right now, what's your culture? I've created my culture. I took a little piece of this, a little piece of that from my upbringing, this and that. I created the culture. We didn't say a mantra every night when I was growing up. Well, in this house, we do. For them children go to bed, we say a mantra. See what I'm saying? I, it's my job to create the culture. It's my job to create the world to come. I'm telling you, the world to come, which means we have to painfully be yanked from the world that was. All right, I'm done preaching. I appreciate all y'all. Remember, the website is 720astrology.com. If you're over on TikTok, come over and join the family over on YouTube. The channel is 720 Astrology. Warning, I tell it like it is over there. So come over there if you're looking for unfiltered, astrological, metaphysical, everything truth, at least from my vantage point. 720astrology.com. Know the stars to know yourself. And as always, stay down till you get up. And when you get up, stay down, which means to stay grounded. In order for you to get up, you must be grounded. And when you get up, in order to stay up, you must stay grounded. Peace.